4, 3, 2, 1, 0. What the fuck? Was it loading? It gotta be loading. It gotta be loading. It's gotta be loading. It gotta be loading. Is it loading? Anyway, we back on the Gauntlet Season 3, Episode 22. Here we got another absolute banger of episode with football season coming around the corner, September 1st. You know what that means? Football season. Favorite sport of the year. We got Chris Bridges on the show. We got Mans with the Jeremy McFadden jersey representing Arkansas. Get what I'm saying? For those who know Jeremy McFadden is, absolute legend. We got James Tatum on my right too. And then we got not Kirk Cousins here. And then we got MK Guru as well. We got an absolute banger. We talking about the NFC North, fantasy football, and even more exciting stuff. So with that in mind, right, I will be bringing up James Tatum.
All right, guys. Sorry about that, but we're just having a little bit of technical difficulties tonight. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Gauntlet. We have some good stuff tonight. I got Dom, but we do have Joseph back in the lineup. What's up, Joseph?
What up? What up?
What's up, man? Good to see you guys tonight, man. And then making his return to the stage, that you got.
What the hell?
I don't know what just happened, but making his return to the stage, Kirk is back, baby. What's up, Kirk? We have missed you on the show, buddy.
What's up, man? I'm back in time football season. I'm making sure I'm gonna make some regular appearances, produce some more shows. Drop some hot takes. I already know that Jalen Hurts is a bust and the Eagles won't make the playoffs at all. So that's no different than the Broncos. But, I'm kidding. I'm not that stupid. But yeah.
It's funny that James
ready to be hurt again.
You say that.
I literally keep getting kicked. With that, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I literally just keep getting kicked for no reason. But anyway, guys, you know how we start every single show, every single week. Sports Moron of the week. All right, man. So, Kirk, since you haven't been here in a while, we'll allow you to start with the Sports Moron of the week. Who you got?
Yeah, my Sports Moron of the week goes to the Portland Trailblazers because every single year we're always promised that we're gonna get some help for Dame, and yet we're like a month away from the season, or like we're going into training camp soon, and he hasn't got any help, and the ownership is probably one of, not the worst ownerships in the NBA. I think Jody Allen, like ever since Paul Allen left, like passed away, like it's been just going downhill. It's like they haven't accommodated his trade requests. They haven't given any of his like players to help, and all they did was draft their replacement and pay Jeremy Grant like $40 million a year. So just another poverty year for the Blazers.
Oh, you guys kept Grant. That's terrible.
Yeah, I think I forgot what the total contract is, but it's like probably like $40 million, like total. It's like Tobias Harris contract.
Too much.
That seems like it's based off potential.
Too much.
Maybe Dame really likes him. He wasn't the worst.
Tobias Harris is better than Jeremy Grant.
True, but I mean, Jeremy had it. He's right, like Kyle said. I mean. I'm sorry, forgive me. I'm a little but like you said, like Kirk said, the team doesn't have too much. I'll be honest with you, Kirk. when they let go of CJ McCollum so easily, that should have told you like how your team feels. Like you actually had possibilities of building on that, but you let it go.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we basically got nothing out of CJ and the Norm trade.
Shout
Like
out
that.
to CJ McCollum's high school classmate, Tyler Ingram.
Oh,
Tyler says he said that the same thing last time he was on the show. I think he's right.
Oh
okay.
my! Wow.
By the way, Kirk, forgive me.
Yeah,
The devil, and he will appear.
The general manager, most and foremost, like the Joe Cronin. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually have one this week.
All right.
I'm gonna keep it in basketball, and there's this guy that plays in Philly, who is doing the same thing he always does, and it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. And I just think he's so moronic for it because you actually have a good situation in Philly, and you won out. Like you won out, and at the end of the day, we got to stop enabling James Harden to sit here and do what he wants and get out of here, bro. Philly, I'm with Philly on this one. They got to worry about paying Joel in a couple years. You think I'm going to sit here and have to give all my attention to you? You did this already with Houston when you said me or Dwight. You did this already at Houston when you said me or Dwight Howard. When Dwight Howard was an actual asset to you, he's gone. You did it again in Houston when Russell Westbrook got there. He's gone. You got to Brooklyn. You were so mad you came to Philly, and then coming into this season, you said you wanted to be better. Let's just be honest, bro. Like, you can win with him, but you can't win when he wants to be the guy. And I think what happened with this dude is, and it's so moronic now, is after that game one against Boston, I remember the media after that. They were saying, like, this is the James Harden they need. He's finally turned the corner. He bought all that. But now you look stupid because at the end of the day, there's no way in hell Philly's going to, excuse my language, there's no way in crap that Philly's going to sit here and say, yeah, we're going to take you over Joel Embiid. We're not realizing Joel Embiid is your biggest asset here because Joel Embiid actually rocks with you. You have a great connection with him. Bro, just admit it. You want to be that guy, but bro, you can't get the calls that you're used to because you get mad about that every single time you drive into the paint. Every time.
Flopper.
And you don't play any defense. So you're never going to be the Houston James Harden again. So at some point in time, you need to realize, much like another guy that came out, I think the same year you did, in Bradley Beal, take the back seat and look at Bradley in Phoenix. Happy to be there. James is kind of moronic with how this situation because you told him to get rid of Doc Rivers and Doc was gone. And then you're going to turn around and do this to them? Like, nah, bro, you a moron for this, man. Seriously.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even care what happens anymore because
Bradley Beal at least attempts to play defense. And also,
I think it's just a distraction to the team at this point. So I honestly don't really care.
The fact that he did it like 4 times is the problem. It's every single team he goes.
You want to go to LA, and from what I've heard about things out of LA, they don't even have the most put together squad out there. And you think you're gonna go?
He doesn't want any part of Harden.
I mean, no one's gonna give
up the
up.
Lakers, right?
No, the Clippers.
The Sixers are not gonna get something great back in return for Harden at this stage of his career. He's 34
Nobody
years old.
At this point, the narrative has been written. No one that wants to win a title wants James Harden because the two don't go together. Same with Russell Westbrook, who's the same guy without the
who's going to win a ring first, Westbrook or Harden?
The thing about him is that he doesn't
either one
to affect the team that he is on currently. He doesn't have to drop 20
they
plus
were both
points.
Die ringless.
He can get 16, 17 assists. I won a lot of money off of sports bets thanks to James Harden and the simple fact of his assists alone. You can affect the game in different ways just without having to be a scorer, but he don't want that.
Okay, Dom, I believe it's your turn now.
I have 2, but I'll be quick. Sticking with Kirk's original theme of GMs, First sports moron, and I'm glad I went and looked because I thought it was still Rick Spielman. First sports moron is the Minnesota Vikings GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah for handing out that ridiculous contract to TJ Hawkinson. TJ Hawkinson is now the highest paid tight end in the NFL. TJ Hawkinson has never had 1,000 yards receiving. TJ Hawkinson's season high in touchdowns is 6. Now, there's two schools of thought when it comes to big contract extensions. One is we're paying you for what you did, which is underachieve, or paying you for what you may do in the future, which is not worthy of that contract. Second one is one Mr. William, don't know his middle name, don't care, Belichick, for cutting Bailey Zappi, leaving them with one quarterback. Then they went and signed Matt Corral. Breaking news, Matt Corral sprained his wrist and was out for 6 weeks while signing said contract. And it's a well-documented fact. Mac Jones' ceiling is so low, he has to duck when he gets in the room. I don't know for sure. I didn't look at the stats, but Bailey Zappi looked pretty good against the Lions. You knew what he was when you drafted him. I don't understand it. And whoever signs Bailey Zappi is getting a hell of a player that, like I said, much higher ceiling than Mac Jones, which is not saying much.
Okay.
Our combined internet powers are just terrible tonight.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I also actually have a couple of them. I'm going to stay in the NBA as well. There was making his return to the Sports Moron is Ben Simmons. After Ben Simmons was interviewed this week and said, somebody asked a question, or he said something about, well, if I ever got traded, where would I want to go? And he responded that he would want to go back to Philly. After everything that you did, bro, you completely made a clown of yourself.
Hey, everybody loves a comeback story.
The team and
everyone
involved, fans, organization, everybody involved. Made a clown of yourself and forced your way out. Didn't do anything, didn't work hard, didn't try to improve any aspect of your game, and then blame everyone for why people were being critical of you. So then you go to Brooklyn, and now you're just saying all this stuff. And I mean, I think he's trolling. If he has any sense, he's trolling. Like he honestly cannot be serious if he's actually saying this. If he does, there's something very much wrong with him in the head. So Ben is my first sports moron. My second GM theme is Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, with his recent comments about the Jonathan Taylor situation, where someone asked him the question, do you think that getting rid of Jonathan Taylor or not having Jonathan Taylor is going to have any effect with Anthony Richardson's growth as a quarterback? And the guy with a straight face says, oh, well, did a running back affect Andrew Luck's growth? Well, yeah, it kind of did. Because you had a guy with this much ability and you pretty much ruined his career by not putting anything around him. Didn't support him with an offensive line. Didn't really support him with a running game of anything to speak of. And so he retired at 29 years old. So I'm not sure where he was trying to go with this, trying to make this analogy to try to prove a point. But I don't think he really understands what he actually said. And as we know, the Colts organization is poorly ran, and they've been poorly ran. They were just disguised as not being poorly ran when they had Peyton Manning and when they had Andrew Luck, which are two great quarterbacks. So, yeah, this guy, Chris Ballard, I don't think he realized the words that was coming out of his mouth, but he's an idiot.
So it's interesting because I'll go real quick on your basketball one. when he played, and I'm just saying, when he played for the Nets, Ben was pretty productive as a switchblade where he wasn't really meant to be a scorer, but he definitely was a rebounder at the guard position, and his assist was around like 6-7. So I'm just saying, he is somebody that can, for a team that is trying to compete, that needs a guy to be that grit guy, albeit it would be at a high risk because you have to manage his attitude. He's a good fit. But in terms of the Colts, it's interesting about Chris Ballard because when he drafted Quentin Nelson, everybody was crowning him. Everybody was saying he was dynamic. He was a great GM because he finally gave the Colts a staunch staple at offensive line. But now I just think they're making a big mistake. I agree with you on the Moron because
the Colts did the same thing. Go ahead, JJ.
No, I'm saying I have Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? I remember here, but I remember how much it was easier for him to kind of figure things out because he could rely on a run game. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like,
he is the run game.
At that time, no. He became the run game a little bit later, but even now, he's not really the run game. We just had injuries that kind of forced him to run game. But during his rookie season, he relied on Kenny Dixon and a couple other guys that helped it easier. They were averaging like 5 or 6 yards a carry. So, like, having Anthony Richardson, if you really believe he's a guy that has the same type of skill set, you got to pay JT. You just got to.
No, all right, that concludes the Sports Moron of the week.
The same thing with Luck that the Lions did with Stafford. They got him an O-line after he left.
Right. Jared Goff is living chill.
NFC North. Is going to the Vikings. Won the division, made it to the wild card round, and got their ass kicked by the Giants. And the rest, the most hype, they're the betting favorite to win the division. So let's start with Dom, since we know what he's going to say. But who do you got winning the NFC North? And make the case.
Oh, do you? Lions. What if I surprise you?
You go. No, you go ahead. Make the case for why Detroit should be the favorite.
It's funny. Before I even get to the, I'll get to the Bears later. Probably, fourth. I'm going to say the Lions, but not because I'm a Lions fan. Because we have the best quarterback in that division. Like Jared Goff, he's better than Kirk Cousins. Not by a lot, but by some. We have the best O-line, which means we should have the best run game. Green Bay's is good too. I'll sum it up real quick. About 3 months before Vegas odds came out, I said Lions 9 or 10 wins. We are not as good as the 8-2 finish. Also not as bad as the 1-6 start. So I don't see a huge jump up there. I said 9 or 10 wins. And then the rest of the division pretty much jumbled together trying to be around 500. Then here comes Vegas. Lions, 9.5. Vikings, 8.5. Bears and Packers, 7.5. It will be a very competitive division in as much as there might only be 4 games at the most separating first from last. I can't even really call it after the Lions. The Vikings are basically, they're in a rebuild. They just don't know it yet. They as mentioned previously, they gave Hawkinson all that money, which he's going to get a lot of targets. Justin Jefferson. Their defense is atrocious. Then you have, the Packers. Good O-line, good defense, great run game, quarterback. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and talk smack about Jordan Love because I don't know. No one knows. He doesn't even know. If they can lean on that run game and the defense and have him be a game manager, they could be in a lot of games. They could win 7-8 games. Then there's the Bears. It's funny because none of them want to admit it, but Bears fans are just positive they're going to do what we did last year and jump from 3 wins to 9. No, you're not, because your O-line is average at best. Your quarterback is at best a poor man's Lamar Jackson. And it's not like you were in a bunch more games yes, you are what your record says it is, but as is obvious, jumping from 3 wins to 9, we were a lot than our 3 wins indicated 2 years ago. Bears, maybe they get to 6, 7. I don't know that it saves Justin Fields' job. He has many steps forward to take as an actual quarterback in the NFL, and I don't know if he can do it because no Ohio State quarterback ever has. Hella athletic, but you got to throw the ball sometimes, homie.
Fair enough. Kirk,
who's next?
I mean, now that I think about it, like most of the all the NFC North teams, like their defense is trash. Like Packers don't have a good defense. Bears certainly don't have a good defense, even though they made a lot of free agency moves there. Vikings, probably the worst one out of all of them. They lost a bunch of guys. Patrick Peterson and Eric Kendricks, name a few, and then who else is there? The Vikings, Bears, Lions. They're probably, they're okay. I mean, definitely improve in the secondary. Like they're the ones that made a bunch of splashy moves, especially in the secondary, right? Adding C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Emmanuel Mosley there, but all these teams' defenses are not that good. They're like average at best. So, in terms of like the most complete team, I would have to go with the Lions based on the momentum they had last year and the coaching and the development of Jared Goff and stuff like that. Just that alone, because I don't really trust on. I don't know anything about Jordan Love. Justin Fields is somewhat unproven, like in terms of like passing the ball. And then Kirk Cousins, like you said, I'm the only Kirk Cousins here, so he's not even the best Kirk Cousins. So, but that being said, based on that, I would have to go with the Lions based on like their who the most complete team in terms of like offense and defensive side of the ball. And I think Jared Goff is probably the best quarterback in the division, to be honest with you. So,
really, Joseph, who you got winning the NFC North and why?
So that's interesting because from my perspective, that's kind of different from the question that's asked on how much pressure is the Lions to win it. But on both fronts, I think the Lions should win it, but it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't win it. Because even as much as they progressed, it's yours for the taking. So with that type of pressure, last year it was one of those things where it's like you were upstart. So the more wins you racked up, you were still kind of being slept on because people didn't really, put you as like a team they were watching out for. This year they do. This year, because of the pressure, because of our, our podcast to talk about it, there's a lot of pressure on them to win this division. And I don't know. They should. They're the most talented roster in the division. There are the divisions, I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive than people want to give it credit to. Listen, Justin Fields is only in his second year or third year. I'm not expecting him to turn into the elite type quarterback. But given for what I've seen in today's game with the Jalen Hurts, with the Lamar Jackson, with the Deshaun Watson, and even to the Patrick Mahomes and the Josh Allens, where you have those guys that can at least run, despite what anyone wants to say, that's a successful way of winning because as they started doing that at the end of last year, they looked much more comfortable and they looked like a better team. they're not rushing it on everybody else's time, expecting him to just be elite off the back. Everybody's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. Everybody's not going to be like that. But just because you're not like that now does not mean you're not going to have a chance to become that now. I think the Bears are going to be very formidable this year. And I think that that's going to weigh into whether the Lions can win the division, because the Lions, they could turn into with the Derek Anderson Cleveland Browns. When you start to get success, you start to think, you know what, I should win this game. But then you sleep on that team, and then that team beats you. As far as the Vikings, yes, they lost a lot of pieces. They lost, Patrick Peterson, Dalvin Cook. But it's interesting in a passing league that we sit here and say that they have the best receiver in the game and a quarterback that only is really bad in prime time. So out of the season that's 17 games, they may have 4 or 5 primetime games at most, if that, but they have to be one of the best teams. So you think like 2 or 3. That gives him 13 other chances to win a game. And they may get down, but he has shown, and I have been a staunch person against this dude. He has shown the ability to at least get your team to a playoff. I don't think he can win one, but he'll get there. And as far as the Packers, again, you don't know. If you don't know what to expect from this person, it's no way you're going to tell me that you're going to dominate them, because you really don't know what you're going to get. Because trust and believe, after, and me and James know this, after our boys had our first successful season or coming in, they thought people was going to walk over us. They thought people was going to walk over us because they thought our quarterbacks who weren't passing were going to just get dominated. Green Bay could show you something. As long as they have a run game and a good defense, they're going to be in games. So there's a lot of pressure on Detroit to win this division. I think they can, but I will tell you this. If you start buying into that T, like if you start off going like 5-0, 6-0, you start buying into that T, you may see yourself as a wild card and not the division leader. Because if you want to take a division, if you want to show people you are that, you can't leave no error. You have to have a Cincinnati Bengals season that overtook the Ravens. You have to have a Ravens MVP type season after having a chance to get to the playoffs. Now you show people that you can play. But are you that team that we feel like, you know what? You might have a chance against Philadelphia. You might have a chance against San Francisco. But you got to show it in the regular season. So we're going to see what's up with them. But I think they can do it.
So you do have the Lions winning the division.
In a nutshell, I do. Because I believe in Dan Campbell. My dad rides for the Lions. He loves Brad Holmes, and he loves he always talks about them every time we talk. He is a huge ride the Lions right now. So yeah, I think they can do it.
We should have made the playoffs last year. I think that would have been an instant matchup with the 49ers.
They didn't make the playoffs, but they were shown that
Yes,
they were competing.
I wanted them badly.
It's like Derek Carr had said in the Raiders when they were coming up in his years. He said the year they were very successful, where they finished like 8-8 or something. He said, "We show people we know how to compete." The next year, when they went 12-4, he was like, "We're showing people we know how to win." We're gonna see if this Lions team is gonna do this. We're gonna see if this Lions team is gonna do this. Because trust and believe, people ain't sleeping on y'all. People are knowing y'all coming to town. They see Amon Ross St. Brown. They see everybody on that squad. They want to see what y'all got everybody's attention. Now we're going to see what y'all about.
Okay. I hear everything you guys are saying, but I have an issue with just picking the Lions as the heavy favorite of this division. First of all, I think the division's wide open. I don't think that Detroit is so far above anyone, if at all.
Who said heavy favorite?
I think that they have been considered a heavy favorite. They're the betting favorite, and this is a team that people are talking about the most. And when you look at the history of this organization, they have shown that they do not handle expectations well. So, these last few years, everyone expects the Lions to be the same old Lions. And last year, they finally won more than 3 or 4 games, and now everyone's clamoring for them. And I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Detroit is going to win the division. If I had to say right now, I'm more comfortable picking Minnesota to win the division because I think that they do have weapons around Kirk, more weapons than what Detroit currently has, and more proven weapons. You have a guy like Justin Jefferson, you're going to have a chance to win every football game. I don't care what it is, but also a team like Green Bay. A team like Green Bay is also good. They have good players on both sides of the ball, and Jordan Love is yet to be seen what he can do. But, we can't really say that he's already trash without seeing what he does as a real starter. So the only team that I'm really sure isn't going to do anything is the Bears. But I don't think that Detroit in the end can handle this type of expectations, expected to be a division champion and give somebody a run for the money. Also, when you look at their schedule, they play some really good football teams. They got to play the Chargers. They got to play the Chiefs. So they're playing the whole AFC West. They also
Kansas City in 6 days.
Starting off with Kansas City. You go to the Cowboys late in the season. Tough road game. So what's going to happen? How are they going to handle the expectations? So far, they haven't proven that they prove that they can. So, but as of right now, I can't pick them until I see it.
If they beat Kansas City, would you change your mind?
No.
On that.
No. Because it's week 1. It's very early in the
Means
season.
nothing. We'll
During
beat
the NFL
Seattle
season,
as well.
And Seattle's another good one. There's a lot of highs and lows during the NFL season. And the great teams, when the lows happen, they figure a way to get through it. And the bad teams, they can't handle it, and everything falls apart. So, however Detroit handles that is yet to be seen. So far in their history, they've shown that they can't handle it well. Will that change this season? I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
I really can't remember a time in my life when we were favored to win the division. Or if we were, we fell flat on our rear ends. 1992, for example.
It's probably been a long time. It's probably been a very long time. So, with that being said, let's move on to our Super Bowl predictions for the season. Who's going to be playing in the big game? Let's call it right now. Joseph, I'm going to go to you first. Who you got?
Oh, wow. I was hoping you'd go to somebody else. Come back to me.
All right, we'll go to Kirk. Kirk, you go.
I think in the NFC will probably be a combination of either the Eagles or 49ers. I don't see that conference is pretty weak. I don't see anyone else making it out of there. Cowboys, they'll never make it to Super Bowl. Like that's always their year. Every year is their year.
Well, they're considered a quote unquote contender, so I'm just asking questions.
Yeah,
I
don't. But the AFC, it's also going to be a combination of either the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs. So I would say those are like the Super Bowl contender favorites in there. There's some honorable mentions, like you said, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, the Chargers, stuff like that.
Dolphins.
They're more playoff contender. They are playoff contenders.
The Chargers.
The Ravens. Got the Ravens. But like those are like more playoff contenders than Super Bowl contenders. So with that being said, I think it's going to be the Bengals and the 49ers in next year's Super Bowl.
Okay, we'll write that one down.
That's the first Super Bowl I ever watched.
We'll go to you next.
Oh, I forgot about that. It was the what was it? Boomer Esiason, the game-winning catch by Jerry Rice, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and the Bengals got absolutely destroyed in that game. Dom,
Yes.
Your prediction?
Kirk pretty much said everything that I would have said. All the teams, other than his said honorable mentions, those are the only ones with a realistic chance to contend. It's either the Niners or the Eagles in the NFC, and I don't even know that I can say Bills. It's probably the Bengals or the Chiefs, whoever gets the home game in the AFC title, because I don't think Josh Allen lasts through the season without getting hurt because they don't have a running back at all of any kind. They haven't had a legitimate RB1 his whole career, and he's already got hurt trying to run the ball in short yardage situations and at the goal line. And I think their defense is also not as good as it was.
Did he not play? Did he not play with Shady? Did Shady and Josh not play with each other in Buffalo?
Maybe they did for like a year, but by then Shady was old. Old-ish.
Just washed.
Like they need how did they not sign Dalvin Cook? How did they not trade for Derrick Henry? How did they not draft a running back higher? Why isn't Kareem Hunt a bill? Ezekiel, just literally anyone, and not even necessarily a top flight RB1, just someone that can take the short yardage and goal line carries. I don't know, Buffalo Bills, if you're watching, what are you doing besides trying to get your quarterback killed? Like this is as bad as when the Bengals had Carson Palmer and they got him killed. The dude's leg fell off in a playoff game.
So if you had to pick,
but it's the Bills, so you're surprised.
So pick one team from each side. We need like something official for this.
Eagles, Chiefs, and the Eagles get it done in a rematch. I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan, and if I can't win, I love to see my friends win.
Okay, well, we'll accept that one.
James Cook is not even the best running cook in the division.
Obviously not. But Joseph, are you ready to make your prediction now?
Oh yeah, I am. And I'm ready for it, but I've watched these teams. I've seen the flaws of these teams, but I also understand the make of these teams. I think it's going to be a rematch of the Super Bowl that my team actually won. I actually think it's going to be the 49ers and the Ravens, and I just think
God. I swear to God, I was like, if this dude says Ravens, sorry to interrupt.
Let him go.
I have 3 days off. I might just show up and fight you. Sorry.
All right, Joseph, make your case for the Ravens.
I mean, sure. I mean, it's why it's everybody's opinion. I don't expect anybody to agree with it, but that's okay. I want you to feel against it. This is just how I feel. And in my mind, this is a team that is under a different offense, that has better weapons, that has their quarterback that got his money, which from reports, I'll even admit that I was wrong, that it wasn't as toxic, but it was. There were reports coming out about Lamar, how he was half-hearted in meetings, not interested in doing this. If you get a motivated Lamar, you get a guy from 2019. And one thing I do believe in this game, especially from what I see, is guys learning from their mistakes. And so if you give me a motivated Lamar that can get to another situation where, let's say, the number 1 seed and a divisional round, what growth do I expect him to have? I think he's going to take the next level. It's not going to be easy. But one thing I do appreciate about my team is that they don't want it easy. They want the doubt. They want people against them. They want people thinking the Dom's reactions and stuff. We want that. And that does not mean, because we had that in every Super Bowl that we played in. We had that coming into that year. And matter of fact, I think this team has a really good shot at getting there because of the changes that we made around us and just the feel that I get from the team. And as far as San Francisco, I think it is going to be a rematch NFC title game, but I think this time they're going to be able to get on top, because I feel like having Javon Hargrave is going to come up big if these two teams face. And I know the Philadelphia Eagles line is very talented. They're very defensive. They're amazing. They're stout. They're awesome. And I really love them. Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, the Georgia boys, all of that. But Javon Hargrave was my favorite watching on that team, because the dude was a menace. That dude was literally I loved watching him play because he brought that old 2000 Ravens, 2002 Bucks type mentality on the defense. And now he's on the 49ers, who is a team that embodies that. I think that's going to be a difference maker if those teams meet up. And I think that at this year, Philadelphia is going to have to see San Francisco go in there. And I think we get another rematch. And I'm hoping it's another same outcome, but that's just me.
I mean, if Purdy was healthy, who knows how that game goes?
You can't possibly be serious.
We put up.
Oh no, I'm very serious.
I gotta be careful what I say. We, because I'm a professional, not a fan. So, the Eagles put up 31 points in that game, but you're still gonna tell me the only reason that they won was because Brock Purdy got injured.
I never said that. I never said that. I just said that it was
he's a game
different
changer.
game. It was close for like.
He said it would be
a different.
He said it would be a different game, and given how both teams were playing at that time, it definitely would have been a little bit more pressure at the end for whoever was down to win it, whether it been Brock or whether it been Jalen. But Brock, I don't believe he's the guy. I don't know
that
yet.
lengthy resume of
but
Brock Purdy comeback wins.
I do think in this game, and we've seen it over the course of history. We've seen the Vic 6-game run. We've seen Aaron Rodgers run to a Super Bowl. We've seen what momentum can do. And at the time this game took place, there was a lot of momentum for both teams. It was the matchup we were all waiting for. So I can understand where Kirk's coming from, because I'm not saying they would have won, but I will say this. It would have been a much more interesting game if Brock Purdy could have played. It wasn't just with one arm. Because it was literally every play was like they knew what was going on. There was like 10 people in the box at one time.
They didn't have a quarterback at all. It's Josh Johnson.
There were like 10 people in the box.
McCaffrey
So
was
let's
that.
talk about. Now hold on. Since we're on the subject, we might as well. Let's discuss the play where Brock Purdy got injured. So on that play, you had the 49ers come out in this big jumbo set where they brought multiple tight ends onto the field. Okay. Kyle Shanahan has been touted as a guy that's an offensive guru and offensive genius. And you have a guy lined up across on the other side of the field, Hassan Reddick, who had, including the postseason, had 19 and a half sacks for the season. Postseason, regular season combined. Why is it a good idea to take a third-string tight end and say, hey, you know what? We're going to let you block Hassan Reddick, guy that had 16 and a half sacks in regular season. That's the play that Brock Purdy got injured. So that was a poor decision and poor game planning by the coach. And I can't even really say that Brock getting injured because of that is a surprise, because it isn't. So Shanahan has not shown
they're not
that
winning that game with Brock Purdy.
He cannot show that he's been a great coach in a big game. In his career, it hasn't happened yet. So I believe that is also where the Eagles have the edge in coaching. I believe they have the edge at quarterback. I believe that they are going to get back to the Super Bowl. And when I look at the whole NFC, I think there's teams people are sleeping on. I know we don't have as many competitive teams like in the AFC, but I mean, you cannot sleep on a team like Seattle. I think that Seattle will make it difficult for San Francisco to win their division. I do think that. I think they will be in the mix. I think that as much as we like to look at the Dallas Cowboys and make fun of them, they have a lot of talent on their roster. So we don't know if it's a foregone conclusion that it's just going to be Eagles and 49ers playing again. I think it could be very different. I think that the NFC is wide open to some degree, but I think the Eagles are the class of that. And on the AFC, I have a hard time believing that in these big moments, people can stop Patrick Mahomes. So a team like Baltimore, I don't see them being able to neutralize Patrick Mahomes and get past them on this big stage. I don't think that a team like Buffalo is going to be able to get it. I think their window is starting to come close to coming to a close. The New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, I want to see if he can make noise in the AFC East. And if so, I think they will be an interesting team come playoff time. But in the end, I just think it's Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and there's everyone else. So that's why I have a rematch of last year of the Super Bowl.
In your honest opinion, can you get it done?
Yeah, definitely. For all intents and purposes, we played a very good game against them and came up short. And I think the primary reason for that was our failure to make adjustments. And, we didn't adjust to what the Chiefs were doing on offense. And, certain plays that were ran in the game, the Chiefs ran and had success. And we didn't really do anything to try to combat that in the second half. So they kept doing it, and whatever works, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that's what Chiefs did and took advantage of it. So I think that the Eagles coming in with a new defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon's out. He's in Arizona. You bring in Sean Desai. He's got a much different scheme. He blitzes a lot more. And with the depth that the Eagles have on the D-line, they're going to be very much a threat to, cause some problems on defense. So I think that it's very possible that they can get it done. But I think the Chiefs are great, and I think it's going to be a very fun NFL season.
They were just, the Chiefs exposed him on the goal line. Like that zigzag route by Sky Moore, they were doing that all game, and it worked all game. Jonathan Gannon was not prepared for that.
They didn't make any adjustments whatsoever. But moving
Shout out
on
to the Western Michigan Broncos.
moving on. We're going to talk about some fantasy football. It's the time of year where everyone's doing fantasy drafts, fantasy leagues, and things like that. So just curious to know what you guys think about this topic. So for a fantasy league, what's the minimum amount of money that you guys will pay for a league? Is there somewhere you draw the line where you're like, yeah, I'm not paying this much for a league, or I'm not paying this little for a league, So obviously the Gauntlet League, it's $50 for that league. And how it's set up is there's not a prize. I know a lot of other leagues do prize for second place. We don't really do that. We just do whoever wins the title is winning all the money, and that's it. So that's the way I set it up. That's my rules. That's what I think is the best. But I know other people do leagues different ways. So I'm just curious what you guys think about fantasy leagues as a whole, and how much will you be willing to pay for a league, and how many teams? Like, will you do an 8-man league? Will you do a 12-man league? What's your whole stance on fantasy football, just like as a whole? Anybody can go.
Kirk, me, Joe. I think I have the most experience because my first fantasy, you ready for this? It was a keeper league. You want to know who my first 3 keepers were? The bald bastard, Matt Hasselbeck, Torrey Holt, and Dominic Davis, who changed his name to Dominic Williams and then retired during the preseason. And guess when we made our keeper lists? Oh, it was before the preseason or before the regular season. So I was already down a keeper. As far as the minimum I would pay, depends on how far down there it is. I try not to do more than 3 leagues at the most. Usually I do 2 money leagues and maybe a free one just for fun. But, it ranges everywhere from $25. I've also been in a huge money league that me and 2 other guys split because the entry fee was $1,000 times 12. I think the winner got 10 grand. We got 3rd one year, which was our money back, which is awesome. But I would say it's more of a maximum amount than a minimum amount. Like, I don't know. What do you want to pay or not pay? But fantasy football is amazing. It's revolutionized the sport. It makes every game worth watching because either you have a guy playing in that game or someone you're going against has a guy playing in that game, and it's fun. And I am a 2-time champion. One time of which I spent 60 days in jail and still won it on the back of one Arian Foster. Shout out to Denzel. Hope you're having fun at dinner. Kirk?
Yeah, I think I would say the range would be like 10,
I would not
$10
do
and
any
$20. Somewhere around there. Usually like the leagues I play in, like they have like a certain amount of like prize money for like first, second, third place. So like first place gets like, I don't know, like $50, second place gets 25, and third place gets 10. So as long as you get like finish in the top 3, you will get your money back guaranteed. Because most of my leagues are in the buy-in are like $10 like each person. So, and that's mostly with my friends and stuff. So if it's like my friends, like having like a fun league with like classmates and friends, like I'm willing to do like, chip in a couple of money. But like if I'm like on like a random website, and then if like someone asks me, it's like, oh, you have to pay in order to get this league, it's like I'm not spending money on a random fantasy league that I don't know anyone in. So and then if the prize money is high, like as long as I can if I be good and then like make it like top 3, I'm guaranteed to get my money back. So that's like probably the most important detail. As long as if I can do good and get my money back, based on like the prize payout, that's probably worth it. So.
All right, Joseph. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this since you don't really do fantasy, but if you want to say,
He's the Dark Knight right now, man. He's in the dark. This is the Dark Knight, the Batman.
Yeah, it's funny. I was feeling like I was channeling my Sia vibes right now, where nobody could see me. But, yeah, I don't do fantasy, so I don't really have a comment on the matter. But I will, if I had to, figure one out, I would say it's interesting. The question is about what's the minimum that you would pay. Because for me, I'd pay free all the time. Like, what do you mean? Like, yes, absolutely. I feel like maybe if it was the maximum, but it's like interesting. But this is how the way the question was worded.
Okay. So with the show
it really
coming,
depends on how much you care about the league, how much you pay attention to it, and what you realistically think your chances are to win.
By the way,
I've been playing fantasy for so long. No, go ahead, JJ.
No, you've been playing fantasy for so long. What happened?
Oh yeah, CBS Sports, once upon a time known as CBS Sports Line, was the first fantasy site to have live updated scoring, and it costed money. It still does, even though every other site on earth it's free. But yeah, part of our league fees are to pay for the site, and it's the worst site ever.
That's lame.
But we do have a championship belt.
okay, fair enough. So with the show coming to an end, we're gonna talk about something that Joseph decided he wanted to bring up. Joseph, I'm just gonna have you introduce this topic, since it was your idea.
Well, absolutely. So sometimes on Instagram, I'll just scroll through posts, trying to see something that might be intensely funny or intensely interesting, scenery throughout the world. I came across a post that was basically a couple that's been together for about, I don't know, a long time. But as you can see, this husband has gone 20 years without speaking to his wife since she upset him, but they still live together. Now, granted, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that in, certain cultures, family is important. And as you can see here, it says Katayama and Otoyumi did not talk for 20 years because her husband, Otu, was jealous of her focus and her care for their children. Flag number 1. Katayama would try to converse to him, but would only receive a grunt or a nod in response. Because he had never heard a discussion, their 18-year-old son wrote to a TV asking them to fix the situation, as he had never heard them have a conversation. And sure enough, a meetup was planned at the park where they had their first date, and it was successful. So they didn't talk for 20 years, but they had an 18-year-old son. So that leads into the topic is, could you actually be living or be in a relationship with somebody where you didn't say anything to them? And if you want to add the bonus content, think extra credit if you're in school. Is it possible to have intimacy with someone that you don't say not one word to? And I thought this topic was fun. Because I'll let you guys go and I will come in when I get a chance.
Like, not say anything to them ever? Like, what's the context? Like, I need to know the context of this question before I can give like a legitimate
Supposedly,
answer.
they did not speak. They conceived a child roughly 2 years into the.
So
the
I live with
codicil.
them. I live with them. I have sex with them every day.
No, not every day. It's the fact that you actually could live
Well,
with
probably
you
not
actually
every
could have
day.
sex with,
But I
you
don't
could have
talk
sex
to
with
them.
somebody and not say one word
Oh
to
my
them.
God, we're getting flagged. We're getting thrown off sideline.
No, I
JJ,
think
what's wrong with
I
you?
think that's impossible. No, I think that's literally. I don't see how this is possible.
I was gonna
My
say,
bad.
like,
was I supposed to edit that? I'm so
Well,
sorry, Seth.
now hang
Strike that from
on.
the record.
They
Nothing's-
say what?
nothing's gonna
70%
happen.
of
Nothing's gonna
communication is nonverbal, right?
So my
Perhaps
question,
she's deaf.
is,
sign
was
language.
he really mad? Because he wasn't mad to the point where he didn't turn down some intimacy.
Well, why was he jealous of his own kids? Like, the mom was not.
So
She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was taking care of the kids like she should.
So
So
wait,
I don't understand why he's
the
upset.
math that like they already had some kids. This whole story doesn't make sense.
So,
The
but-
kid-
They didn't
but
talk
I'm
for
not
20
sure.
years.
So what I do know is in certain cultures that, family is above all. So even if you don't like each other, even if you're not cool with each other, even if you don't love each other, you will stay together for the sake of the unity of family.
So it's a
Maybe
requirement.
that's it.
That's what you're trying to say. It's required in certain cultures.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, okay, it's definitely something that would be maybe considered funny to me, but that's not my culture. But in other cultures, I can understand, because I do know in certain cultures, they would rather you put up with so much turmoil because of, a religious aspect or just aspect of the tradition. So it's like, that doesn't mean that they're ever going to love each other, but they're honoring the faith that they have in their religion. And so I now that I think about it, I absolutely do understand maybe how this could happen, because, it's not exactly uncommon in certain cultures.
Okay.
20 years and you go,
I
you've
see
been
what-
together
I
for
see what
20
you're
years
trying
and
to-
you haven't said a single word.
I do see what you're saying, though. Like, that is true. Different cultures like handle situations differently. But with answering this question from like our own perspective, I can't really take that into consideration because their culture is not the culture that I'm in. So my simple answer to this question is no. There's no way in hell I could be in a relationship with somebody, have kids with them, and have sex with them on a regular basis and never speak to them. It's not possible. Like I
And
as a
still not
human,
speak even
I
after you
I
had
don't
the
see how
kid.
that can function at all. That doesn't make sense to me.
Does
So
texting count?
I'm going to
Can you,
answer no to this question.
Does it have to be verbal, or can you, like, does texting count as like talking?
That's interesting because they didn't really go into. It was just that post. What you saw is what I seen as well, and that's what they had. But that very well could factor in. Like we don't. I mean, it's.
Why would you text somebody and not talk to them though? Like that also doesn't make sense.
So
I don't buy that. I don't buy that story.
You know what's interesting is that people
because you text your wife throughout the day, so you don't have to talk to her. In some ways, this dude is winning. He never got nagged. He didn't get nagged one time by his wife for 20 years. Lord knows what it did to the poor kid. I mean, could you imagine for your whole life and you never saw your parents speak to each other? I don't think this is true. But I mean, it's on the internet, so it has to be true.
It
seems Dom put that
everything.
I don't see how
true.
this is possible. Like you have an 18-year-old son that went to the TV to say no one ever he never saw his mom and dad have a conversation.
So it's almost like
you waited 18 years to get on the internet to do that.
When the kids were coming up, you didn't communicate at all, like not one time. Like if the kid was sick and he was with you, you didn't call the wife and tell her that he was okay, or what was going on.
They probably just had like some combination of a dry erase board and passive aggressive Post-it notes.
And I do not want to. if it was, there's a culture. I don't want to mock anybody at all, but this was kind of something that kind of struck me because I'm like, wow. Because then, of course, I personalized
That's
it
a
and
very,
thought about
very passive aggressive couple.
What? No.
At some point, I feel like at least the last 17 years of it, they just both got stubborn. And it's like, oh, you don't have to say me either. Like, forget about what it's doing to your child. But generally, I don't believe that this is true.
Yeah, true. Well, that was just something.
Okay, guys. I think that is going to wrap us up for tonight. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We'll see you guys here next Friday for our NFL season kickoff preview show. With that being said, does anybody have anything to add?
Lions will beat the Chiefs, but next time we do this show,
celebrating a 1-0 record.
We will see.
Okay.
I don't think so, though.
What do you say?
See you guys next week.